Shalom, welcome to my channel, The Hebrew Bible. This is Moses Gumadi, and in this video we'll address the question, to whom did God say, let us make? Na'aseh, let us make. In Genesis 1 verse 26, Genesis chapter Bereshit 1:26, we read, Vayomer Elohim na'aseh Adam betsalmenu kidmutenu. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, plural, us, our, etc. Na'aseh, that is plural. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, etc. Now here are the important words. Na'aseh is a plural verb. Is a plural verb, meaning the people who would carry out the verb are plural. I mean, that's a fact. That's in Hebrew. And then also say betsalmenu, which is basically, there are multiple things here. There is a preposition, bet, and tselem is the root, means it's an image, and nu is the suffix, and we have the plural suffix, our image. In our image, kidmutenu, which is kedamut nu. So again, preposition, a noun, and a suffix. The suffix nu is plural. Okay, so we have a plural verb and two plural suffixes or suffices. So here is the morphology, as we can say, of that verb na'aseh. Na'aseh is in the yiktol conjugation kal stem. Now this is first person, second person, third person verbs in the masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. In our case, na'aseh will be a first person verb in the masculine plural, na'aseh. Well, it could also be feminine plural. Even if multiple females say na'aseh, it will be the same. Or if a combination of man and a woman said, also it could be na'aseh. But it is plural. If it is a singular one, it would be e'aseh, right? Again, ta'aseh, second person, you make. And if the third person has made, or he shall make it, ya'aseh, etc. So all these variations exist, and this is Hebrew grammar. And therefore here we have very clearly a plural verb in the kal stem yiktol conjugation. We also mentioned about these suffixes, our image, our likeness, betsalmenu, kidmutenu. You know, the nu ending, nun and vav with a shuruch vowel here, right, means our or us, which is a first person common plural. So these are all plural forms of verbs. For example, if the noun is Elohim, then Elohim means God. Let us say, if you say our God, it is Elohenu. If it is second person masculine plural, it will be Elohechem, Elohechen, Elohehem, Elohehen, etc. We also have a singular forms of these pronominal suffixes, which I have dealt with in a separate video on the Hebrew grammar pronominal suffixes. I will leave a link below in the description. Now, it's very clear again, this nu ending shows that it is a first person common plural. This is person, gender, number. The number is plural. Okay? Right, so that's very clear. So the question is, well, the question to the answer is that, did God say, hey, let us make? And is that plural? Obviously, yes. So there's no escaping from that fact. God did invite others, whether it is another person or it is multiple other people, we don't know, but to make, that is a plural verb, man in their image, an image which is common to God and to whoever he is inviting to make an image common to them. Okay, that much is very clear in the Hebrew text. But here comes the thing. in the next verse, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 27, and this is what most people don't tend to read properly, I think, is because obviously people have conclusions. Oh, let us make, let us, you have a trinity. Others will say it is angels, and people come up with all kinds of explanations. What is it? Angels. Did angels also were involved? Were angels also were involved in our creation? Who actually created us? Who is our maker? Verse 27. Next verse. We read here, Vayivra Elohim et ha'adam betzalmo. Betzelem Elohim bara oto zachar unkeva bara otam. So, and God created man in his own image or his image. Betzalmo, you have a singular pronominal suffix. Also, God created, Vayivra is a singular verb. I'm going to show you again. And then bara oto, he created, he, him. Male and female created, he, them. This bara, that bara. All these verbs and the pronominal suffix are all in the singular. Let's look at the morphology again. Vayivra is in the Vayikthol conjugation, third person masculine singular verb. The root is Bet Resh Aleph. It's the same root used for bara as well, couple of times. Note that bara and Vayivra are essentially of the same meaning, except that they occur in a different. This is a Katal conjugation. This is Vayikthol, but the tense or the aspect in which they occur are the same. This is in the past tense. Bara means he made or he created. This also means and he created or he created. But it is in the Vayikthol, this is in the Katal. And the main point here is all the three verbs here are in the third person masculine singular. That is, the writer is describing God in the third person, saying that God singularly in the singular, right? There's no plural. Unlike the previous verse, Naase Adam Betzalme Nu Kidmute Nu. So he's not using plural here. Here, when the rubber meets the road, when the actual creation was carried out, God created in the singular, period. Okay, so what's the conclusion? The conclusion is, okay, so before we come to the conclusion, as I said, three verbs and the pronominal suffix of Betzal. Earlier in verse 26, he said Betzal me nu, but when he actually created man, it says Betzal mo. That is, third person masculine singular suffix is used. Be is a preposition, and you have tselem noun with tzadik lamed mem is the root, and a suffix is with a vav on the with a cholam. Right, so that's the third person masculine singular suffix. All of them are singular. Similar verb bara, which is again third person masculine singular katal verb, is used right in the first chapter where we read Bereshit bara Elohim. So people say, well, Elohim is plural. Oh, that's fine, but people call Elohim, because Elohim is a colloquial term in an ancient Near Eastern culture, because they didn't have a view of a singular God. All that they had is gods. Even the Romans and the Greeks always talk about gods in the plural. That's the word. And that word is being used and contextualized here in the Hebrew scriptures by linking it with a singular verb to tell people, hey, look, this Elohim with everybody thinks is plural is actually not plural. It is singular. One, unitary. Bereshit bara Elohim, the singular God. Okay, that's what is there in the grammar. It's the same root used bara twice in the verse 27. It's the same verb in chapter 1 verse 1 as well. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion here, well, before we're not ending the video right here, please stay on, there's a lot to discuss, but at this point the conclusion is that God created in the singular verb man in his own image, in his image, and it says in the image of Elohim. Okay, However, it is true that God did invite others, or another person, or other persons, we don't know, saying, hey, let us create man in our image. He said it, but then in the next verse, he alone did it. Okay? He alone did it. Now, whether others did it or not, we don't know. Let us see who it could be. To whom was God speaking? Now, let's read the next verse in order to get this context of multiple, these verbs with plural and singular and all that stuff for the purpose of illustrating grammar. In Genesis 1:28, we read 26, we read verse 27, and we have here verse 28. Vayvarech otam Elohim, vayomer lahem Elohim, peru uruvu, mil'u et haaretz, vechivshuha, urdu bidgat hayam of hashamayim uchol chaya haromeset al haaretz. Okay, so what does this mean? God is basically saying, hey, he blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it and have dominion, all that. Multiple verbs are present in this verse. So wherever I put the blue, they're all a blue, and the red, they're all verbs. I didn't show the blue here in the Hebrew text. But Vayvarech is God blessed, and he blessed. Vayvarech otam Elohim, that means God blessed them. Who blessed? This is the subject, Elohim. Vayomer lahem, and he said to them. So this blessing and saying, these two verbs are singular. The remaining verbs, he said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish. It all refers to the men, the humans who were created. So here is the table. Vayvarech otam Elohim. So whenever it talks about Elohim there, the verb is singular, third masculine singular, and Vayomer is third masculine singular. There you have Vayomer lahem Elohim, and God said to them. Vayomer is third masculine singular, but then he says peru, that is, be fruitful, uruvu, and be multiplied, or become big, or become great in number. And umilu, and then fill vehivshuha, so hivshuha me bidgat hayam, so basically, and rule over, etc. Urdu, all these verbs are imperative. That means he's telling them to do something, and they're all in the second person masculine plural. So contrasting to these plural verbs, God is blessing them and speaking to them in the singular. In fact, all the verbs there in the book of Genesis chapter 1 are all in the singular, except that in verse 26 where he says, let us make. Okay. Of course, there are a couple of others in the other books as well, like in the other chapters of Genesis. Okay, let us go down and see, etc. Those verses are there. We can talk about them, but it's the same thing. They are plural verbs. So far, so good. What is the conclusion so far? So whilst God invited others to make man, the make in the plural verb, in their image, the fact remains from verse 27 that he alone, God alone, created in the singular verb man in his singular own image. Okay, so far it's very clear. God alone in the singular is our creator, not plural. Not plural, God is our creator. Singular, God is our creator. He well may have said to others, let's make, but did they make it? And who are they? That's the question. So this is the question we need to address. Who did God speak to when he said, let us make man in our image? Right, so Vayivra Elohim, Betsalmenu, Bara, so all those things. God created man in his own image. As I said, Vayivra is singular, etc. We are saying that this is all in the singular. But there is a clue here in this verse. You see, there is a doubling. Vayivra Elohim et Adam Betsalmo. God created man in his own image, right? Okay. But he continues and he says, B'Tselem Elohim bara oto. In the image of God created he him. So there's another clause here. And the second clause is similar to the first clause, except that it is said in the indirect way. God created man in his own image. And he says, in the image of God created he him. Why does he say, in the image of God created he him, when he says in his own image? Is it like a doubling? Is it just like a repeating? And then he says, male and female created he them. So if you analyze this, God created man in his own image, right? His own image. And this very God, singular verb, created, in the same God created him in the image of God. So he created him in his own image, and he also created him in the image of God. But is in the image of God the same as his own image? Of course it is. But then if that's the case, why repeat? That's the question. Why was it repeated? And then in the immediate next clause he says, male and female created he them. The created he again is created is in the singular, but he created them in the plural, that is male and female. Is this male and female, has it got any link with this doubling of these sentences? Is a possible question that we could analyze. Is there something being implied here? Right? Is there another person in whose image God, in the masculine singular, created not only his own image, but in the image of God? And then who is this God, in the image of whom did he create? But whoever this image may be, the one who created is the masculine God in the singular. That much is very clear. The question though is, why is this male and female created? Where does the female image come from? Okay, so let's move on. We have some clues right in the verse 2. Verse 2 says, Ve'ha'aretz hayata tohu ve'vohu ve'choshek al pene tehom ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al pene hamayim. Here it says that and the earth was without form and void, darkness was upon the face of the deep. Here, ve'ruach Elohim, and the Spirit of God, merachefet al pene hamayim, and the moved or hovered upon the face of the waters. This verb hovered, as we said previously, Hebrew verbs not only have person and number, but they also have gender. And this verb turns out to be a female verb, a feminine verb, merachefet. And who was hovering? The Spirit of God was hovering upon the face of the waters. And the verb given to the Spirit of God is feminine because ruach, the noun ruach, is in the feminine, and in Hebrew grammar the noun should match the verb in the gender. Okay. So ruach Elohim, also the Spirit of God, in both the Hebrew and Aramaic language and culture is always feminine. Hebrew nouns have gender. Okay. So in the culture, the Spirit of God is not masculine, but it's feminine. And merachefet. So is there any clue, is there any involvement of the Spirit of God in the creation where the feminine is implied? Possibly. Let's see. In the book of Job, we read in chapter 33 verse 4, Ruach el asatni ve'nishmat shaddai techayeni. Ruach el, the Spirit of El, that is God, asatni, she made me. Asatni is feminine verb. Venishmat shaddai neshama. Nishmat is in the construct. Venishmat shaddai techayeni. Techayeni means has given me life. Again, it is a feminine verb. So we have clear-cut evidence of the involvement of the Spirit of God, Ruach Elohim. There previously, here we have Ruach El. asatni. This asa word is the same word God said, used it previously, naase. See this one? Remember we use this naase. Naase is in the yiktol conjugation, but if you change it to the katal conjugation and add a first person common singular suffix, then you will have in the third person feminine singular asatni. Asatni means she made me. She made me. Okay. Let us make. Naase is let us make. Or we shall make. Okay. We shall make. Here asatni means she made me. Okay. So it's the same word. Ruachel asatni. So the root is asa. Ain. Sin, or not shin, but a sin with a dot on the left, and he, and the he, and the letter he, with the grammar here, with the what do you call, when the verb is inflected, then you get the tau, etc. Ni is the suffix, first person common suffix. Okay. So we saw the involvement of the Spirit of God here, Ruach El Asatni, and we showed that's the same verb. So it looks like the Spirit of God is involved. So is there any conversation going on with the Spirit of God? Is it like a duality or a trinity? What is this? What exactly is going on? But very clearly, we don't have any character called the Son who is creating in the Hebrew Bible. You know why? Because I've done a video in the previous video, just the previous video. If you go to my channel, sort them in the order, and you can see the previous video was on the sons of God. So there is no Son of God who was involved in the creation at all, because Israel themselves are the sons of God. But then there were other sons of God which we're going to talk about who were witnessing the creation, not really creating, but they were witnessing the creation. Okay, so asatni is plural, well, asatni is singular, feminine, but nishmat shaddai. Nishmat shaddai is neshama of the Almighty, has made me, has given me life. Techayeni. So neshama is again feminine. So where is the feminine bit involved in the creation? We read here in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7 where God made man. Vayitzer Adonai Elohim. Here the tetragrammaton of the Lord's name Yahweh comes here. Vayitzer, here he formed like a potter, gave shape. Vayitzer Yatsar is the root Yod Tzadeh Resh. Okay, Vayitzer Adonai Elohim et Adam afar minha Adama Vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim. And so he breathed into the nostrils of man neshama of life. Nishmat chayim, breath of life is with neshama of life, and that nishmat shaddai techayeni is the same nishmat which is feminine, chayim. God breathed into man his spirit or his breath, neshama, his own see, vayipach be'apav. Ipach means he blew, means from him he blew the neshama, feminine. Neshama is breath, into man, the nishmat chayim, living breath. He blew into the nostrils of man. So there is something of God, a part of God, a part of God that comes inside man. Therefore, the concept of divine spark is perfectly 100% biblical concept, which unfortunately many evangelicals they reject it as some sort of an esoteric new age doctrine. But what their doctrine is new age, meaning it came later. Okay, this is a biblical doctrine right there in the beginning in the Bible. Every Jewish rabbi will accept what I'm trying to say. There is a divine spark in man because God breathed his own breath, neshama, into the person of man. That is how man became a living soul. That is what distinguishes man from other animals. In fact, in the early morning prayer, people make a prayer, Jewish prayer. It says the Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora ata berata ata yatzarta ata nefakta bi ve'ata meshemera bekhirbi kol zaman shehen neshama bekirbi modeh ani lefanecha Adonai Elohai. So the point, what they say is that, oh God, my God, Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora. This neshama that you have given me is pure. Ata berata, you have created. Ata yatzarta, you have formed it. Ata nefakta bi, you only have the nefakta is a bear up of vayipach, that's the word. Nefakta, ata nefakta bi means you only have blown it into me. Ve'ata meshammerach bekirbi, you alone keep that neshama within me. And kol zaman shehan neshama bekirbi, as long as this neshama is residing within me, modeh ani lefanecha, I will praise thee before thy face, Elohai, Adonai, Elohai, ve'Elohei avotai. Oh, the Lord my God, the God of my fathers. This is a part of a prayer in the morning. God's own neshama is there right within man. And this neshama, nishmat chayim, neshama, turns out to be the female. So let's put now, Adonai Elohim is the one who blew the nishmat chayim into man. And from the verse in Job, we read that El ruach el asatni ve nishmat shaddai techayeni. Therefore, in the feminine, there is a verb which where God has made us, but the verb is in the feminine because the ruach is involved. So perhaps that is what is meant, because we have male and female created. Then the question then that arises is, are we talking about a two-part God? Certainly not. This is the major blunder. What is ruach Elohim? Ruach Elohim is nothing but it's an aspect of God. We'll come to that. There is no two persons here. There's no two persons. At the most, the proponents, the idea of Trinity, the Trinity is proposed from this verse, Genesis 1:26. There is no Trinity. At the most, you can maybe propose a binity. Is that a binity? What's the right word? But one of them is female. So all that you can suggest is male and female. Okay? There is no three. There's no three there. And I showed you all the verses. I showed you the grammar. This is at the most, this is what you can see. But I'm going to show you that these two are not different at all. The Adonai Elohim, Ruach Elohim, is an aspect of Adonai Elohim. Meaning, it is his own breath. In other words, like, if you blow from your mouth, breath comes, it's a part of you. So that's what it is. So there is no separate person here. Let's get back to Proverbs 20:27. We read, Ner Adonai nishmat Adam. What does it mean? The spirit of man, or it's translated in the King James as the spirit of man, which is the breath of man, or a neshama of Adam, is the candle, or Ner Adonai. It's the light of Hashem, light of the Lord, light of God, tetragrammaton, YHVH. The light of God is the neshama of Adam. Okay. So coming back here, we read in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7, Vayashov He'afar al haaretz keshehaya ve'haruach tashuv elha Elohim asher netana. So what is he saying? He's saying that then the dust shall return to the earth, al haaretz. Afar is the dust. Afar he'afar, dust will return al haaretz, to return to the earth. And the spirit, the ruach tashuv el ha-Elohim, the spirit shall return to God who gave her. Who gave it is translated who gave her. So here we have Netanah. The he with a mapik is a suffix, third person feminine singular suffix, pronominal suffix, added to the verb who gave her, which is, what is her? Her is the ruach, spirit. So the spirit feminine shall return unto God who gave her. Who gave her to who? To man. God gave the spirit to man by breathing in. That's the point earlier. And then when he dies, that spirit returns to God. So this is the situation here. So does this make a binitarian thing? Even if it does, it is not the son here, but it's the spirit, but in the feminine. So here is the point. The Spirit of God is his faculty, an aspect of God, and not a separate person. Why? Because only YHVH, he alone is God, he alone is a singular person. He said that he alone is Ha Elohim, there is none else. Another reason is that in Genesis chapter 1 verse 27, when God actually created, it is he who created in the singular. And yes, Spirit of God created man, we read from Job, but that is as good as he creating him. And the Spirit of God is not if the Spirit of God is a separate person, then the wisdom of God is a separate person, the hand of God is a separate person, and the feet of God, it says the feet of God, heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool, and says the feet of God, the finger of God. God wrote the 10 Commandments with the finger of God. God it is written in Egypt. Those fellows, the magicians of Pharaoh said, "Oh, this is the finger of God." Then that must be a person. The arm of the Lord, that is Zeroah Adonai. That is another person. So then, how many persons do you have? This is all foolishness. Spirit of God, it is a faculty. It's like saying, for example, I'm a single unitary person, and I say my hand, my eyes, my nose, my foot, my intelligence, my wisdom, or a lack of it, or whatever that is, right? In the same way, God is here anthropomorphized, and his faculties are used. Thine is the glory, thine is the power, thine is the strength, etc. All these things we read about in the scripture. I can produce at least 15 to 20 things that are of God. Okay. We can't say all of them are persons. So here we read. So that brings us to the question of, so who is it that God was saying, let us make? So if it is the Spirit of God to whom he said, let us make, then it's basically God saying to himself, let us make. So even people, speak to themselves like that. Sometimes, they say to themselves, people do speak to themselves, but it doesn't mean there are two persons. It's just the self-reflection. That's one way to answer this question. Another way to answer this question is that he was speaking to others who shared a certain image which is common to God and to man and to the angels or whoever, the sons of God. We'll look at that. Here we have in Job 38 verse 4 and 7 that YHWH boker or woker. So the morning stars sang together when God laid the foundations of the earth, and Kol Bnei Elohim, all the sons of God shouted for joy. Bnei Elohim. So these Bnei Elohim are also called, as I showed you in my previous video, that in Psalm 82, Bnei Elyon, sons of the Most High, they were called, you are gods. Ani amarti Elohim atem. I tell you, I have said to you, you are gods. You guys, atem plural. You guys are gods. And you are all Une Elyon Kullachem. So all of you are Bnei Elyon, sons of Elyon, sons of the Most High. But Ke Adam temutun, but you will die like men. So assume that he is not talking about talking to the Spirit of God as in his own spirit, right? Then he was speaking to others in the plural and say, okay, let us make man in our image. But then in the end, they actually did not make. They could not make. He just said, like how a mother tells her little children when she's baking a cake, hey kids, now come on, let us make a cake. They can't make any cake. The mother makes the cake. That's what has happened in verse 27, because we read that God actually made man, not anybody else. So that's another explanation. But these guys who were there, they were called Elohim, but they're not a real Elohim. They will die like men. Again, we read in Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 11 and 13, but Hashem is the true God, YHVH, Adonai Elohim, Emeth, Hu Elohim, Chaim, Umelech Olam. He is the living God and he is the everlasting King. And at his wrath, all that, the earth trembles, and the nations are not able to abide by his indignation. And thus shall ye say to them, to whom? To the nations. This verse alone, only this verse in Jeremiah 10, well, not 10, the entire book of Jeremiah contains a single Aramaic verse, not Hebrew. Aramaic verse, because now they are supposed to speak to the nations, to the nations. Thus shall ye say to them, to the nations, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, these shall perish from the earth and from under the heavens. This is exactly what is written in Psalm 82, that they shall perish, they shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. They'll perish. Kidna themrun lehom Elahaya, plural, the gods, Elahaya dishmaya ve arka la avdu, the gods who have not made the Shmaya, the heavens, and the Arka, which is the earth, la avdu means who have not made it, Yevadu, they will be destroyed, me ar'a, from the earth, umin techot, Shemaya elle, and from the heavens. Shemaya again, heavens. These guys are not the creators. And at the most you could say that in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, God did invite somebody. God invited others to make, plural, man in the image. But they did not make man in the image. It's very clearly, it says in the next verse, God alone, Hashem, YHWH alone created in the singular verb man in his own singular image, and YHWH is El Gadol. El is singular. People may say Elohim is plural. Yeah, that may be right, but the word El is singular and it is applied to God, YHWH. So many number of times he says, I am El and there is none else. He says, I am God, there is none else. In the book of Isaiah, he says, I am El, there is none else. So we are talking about a Unitarian, singular, monotheistic God, YHWH. He is your creator and mine, and that glory must belong to him alone and to no one else, no one else. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon. Please do comment below and I will come back to you with another video as soon as I can. Thank you very much.